Thank you for coming back to watch a second video. I'm excited to share with you. And one of the things I shared in the first video is that most spiritual students who aren't having the growth and connection with spirit they'd like to have hang in there for a long time, way too long. They settle for not making much progress at all, and they keep busy reading spiritual books, studying, trying to get the answer through their intellect. Been there, done that. Oh, I did that for so many years. And that's putting our ego in charge of our spiritual growth and development, which means it ain't happening. Not really. And then what happens is we feel that we're the failure. I sure did. But check it out. We are not the failure. It's our method that is failing, not us. It's our method. We'd be able to, and we'd like to be able to walk the talk and live a loving life if we had the right method. But we keep falling short and missing the mark because of our method. Get that? We're not failing. The method is failing. That was such a huge mind opener for me. It's like you want to go to London from New York, but you're going to travel in a rowboat by yourself. That's not a good method. That's not a good method, but it can sure keep you busy for a while until maybe you give up or until you drown, right? But it's still not a good method. If you've been a spiritual student for a long while and your life isn't feeling like it's filled with profound transformation, you're probably not employing the best method. And you're probably thinking it's because you are doing something wrong, because you are wrong, because you are bad, because you're not good enough, because you're not worthy. I hear this all the time. But the only thing we're doing is making the error of using a method that doesn't really work. So many people have told me they studied A Course in Miracles for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years, for 25 years, and they never thought to live it the way I show them that they can. When they begin using my methods, they quickly begin to get results that eluded them for all those years. I just can't say it enough. It wasn't them, it was the method they chose. See, if we put our ego intellect in charge of our spiritual practice and growth, it's always going to lead us away from the goal because that's what the ego does. And by sending us in circles where it seems like we're accomplishing a lot, we're certainly very busy reading all those books and listening to all those audios and going to all those lectures and study groups. But we absolutely know that our relationships aren't amazing. They're not holy. We still have a craving to feel special, and we're still annoyed and frustrated that people don't appreciate us. We're still giving to people in order to get them to like us or love us or even just keep us from feeling alone. We're still holding grudges. We're still blaming others, and we're still feeling like we're not good enough. We might see small changes, but not much in the way of miracles. So, most people wait until there's some emergency, a diagnosis, a prognosis, a death, a career catastrophe, divorce, or the threat of one, the relationship that's crashing and burning, the painful humiliation, something that pushes them so hard that they simply have to do something different. And then they've got some real willingness to do things differently. But they're afraid and they don't want to go it alone anymore. Studying isn't enough. They know they need to do something differently and they're ready to do it, but they just don't know what it is. That pain is pushing them to figure it out. And then there are the folks that really are interested in being deeply connected to spirit, and they are just tired of going around in circles, seeking but not finding. And they're ready to roll up their spiritual sleeves and get to work, but they just don't know what it is that they need to do to raise their consciousness and to raise themselves up to that higher level of awareness. So that vision is pushing them. And as far as I can see, the pain pushes all of us and the vision pulls all of us too. Now, what I can tell you is I've become an expert at helping people eliminate the pain from pushing them so they can concentrate on the vision of a life they love pulling them. And it's not just a life that they love, it's that deep connection with spirit pulling them, that they are in tune with their intuition. They are in tune with spirit's guidance, which is always flowing. I think of it as live streaming all the time. And you know when it really starts to pull you, when it actually begins to happen, you begin to get that awareness that spirit is connected and you are able to listen and follow. That's when the vision really starts to bloom. And that requires a person to move out of their head into their heart. So the ego driven intellect needs to stop analyzing the evidence, and that's what allows us to get into our heart, out of our head into our heart. I was a very analytical person. So I was ego driven. The ego had spiritualized my life, spiritual ego experience. And since the ego was in charge of my spirituality, that method wasn't working. But as soon as I made the commitment to really focus on being loving, I started to experience real miracles, real miraculous shifts in consciousness. And that miracle grows the awareness of what's really possible for us in terms of our spiritual growth. Then the vision begins to take root, which means the slightest breeze or somebody pulling in front of you in traffic can't blow us out of the water anymore. We start to have real strength, real inner fortitude. So, if a person would like to experience real and lasting expansion, real and lasting spiritual growth, to be able to truly walk the talk and live the love, it requires what any growth experience requires, and it requires an environment conducive to growth with fertile soil and consistent sunlight and water and nourishment like Miracle Grow. A fertilizer that activates and gives you those super nutrients to give you your very best chance. And this is what allows people to have that kind of accelerated growth experience, having these things in place. That's the first part of really being able to get some liftoff with walking the talk and living the love. Now, an environment that's conducive to spiritual growth, as far as I'm concerned, is a community that meets at the heart, not one that's all about who's more spiritual than who and who knows that all that intellectual stuff. No spiritual know-it-alls. People who genuinely care and can extend that caring to others. People who are able to be compassionate and not just pretending to be compassionate. So consistency is crucial in developing this experience because it's about developing the effective spiritual practice and the commitment to it so that you're not giving up. You might fall down and you might forget. Of course, those things are going to happen, but you're not giving up. You just get back on the wagon and back on the wagon. and you don't become complacent anymore. You don't just say, it doesn't work for me. You keep going because you've had some miraculous experiences and now you know something that you didn't know before. Because let's face it, it's easy to get distracted. We all know that. And having a spiritual practice that is actually healing, and A Course in Miracles tells us that we can spend a lifetime meditating, but it's not necessarily going to be healing. Certainly, it's not going to be a speedy route. It's a long and circuitous route. There are faster routes, right? And I've met many people who have been meditating for a long time and they're not getting the results they'd like. But somehow we have this fantasy that meditators are more spiritual. No. So, okay, the most basic spiritual practice is learning to forgive. Now, I'm talking about real forgiveness. And this is not your grandmother's forgiveness. This is not saying, I forgive you, but you do not mean it. This is not saying, I forgive you, but you still blame them. No. Real forgiveness is being willing to release the attachment to the meaning you've made of things. And that takes great willingness. So, this is why I have methods and tools and practices that can bring you to that place where you finally crack open that attachment to being right about what happened. And it's totally something that people can be taught and practice and learn and get really good at. And it's profoundly transformational. It really is. It's incredibly effective in letting go of the attachments that we have to a painful past, painful experiences, and feeling like we've been damaged, that we're wounded. All of that can be transformed through the practice of forgiveness. And it's self-forgiveness is the key. And that's what a lot of people don't seem to get. Remember, forgiveness isn't saying that what happened is okay, or that you don't mind, or you don't care, or you're over it, or you're not going to think about it anymore. None of that is forgiveness. But we've kind of been led to believe that those things are forgiveness. Again, not good methods. People feel like they're a failure, but no, it's not them. It's the methods that they're using. So, true forgiveness is simply just the willingness to stop judging, to relinquish the grudge. And when we invoke the higher Holy Spirit self, then it can happen, right? So, this is critical for us. It often takes some real work for most people to get to the place of being willing to give up the meaning they've made of it and say, okay, I don't know what anything is for, right? Pure Course in Miracles. I do not know what anything is for has saved my life. And see, once you relinquish some of the major pains of the past, and then you can feel lighter, you're releasing the blocks to love. So naturally you have more clarity and spiritual vision. You have more energy and more strength to dig deeper and let go of more attachments, to let the flow of love in more and more. I can tell you, so many people I've worked with, they do the self-forgiveness and then they are amazed at how the people that they're in relationship with treat them differently, have more love for them. It's because the grudges and the things that we hold in our minds block the flow of love. We're the ones who are doing it. And so we are the ones who have to let those blocks go. And I've become an expert at doing this. It's my life's work. It's my passion. First, I had to do it for myself, and it was really not easy to figure out. But having figured it out, I'm on fire for helping other people to do it as well. And look, I'll be honest with you. What I'm talking about, was definitely the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. to simply learn how to walk the talk and be the love, live the love, let the love flow in my life. And since it was so hard for me and it's made such a difference in my life, I cannot be quiet about it. I must share it with as many people as I can. And so here's the deal with that kind of true forgiveness, the blocks of love fall away. So just naturally, love begins to flow, and so do the miracles, because miracles and love, same thing, really. And that's when the healing begins to speed up in ways that most people find amazing and unbelievable. But it's not magic, and it's not even rocket science. It's not unusual. It's just what naturally happens when the true forgiveness occurs. The blocks to love fall away and the miracles begin to flow. True forgiveness happens in the heart and in the mind. And it's much easier than you think. But again, it's easier when you have a method that makes it easier. Plus the environment, right? And the nutrients and all the components working together. That's the secret sauce in a way. And then there's a little matter of trust, learning to trust. Every year, working with so many people, again and again and again, people tell me, my big issue is trust. My big issue is trust. My big issue is trust. So, learning to trust and the development of trust, all of that becomes like a secret weapon that we can use against the pain of the past. We can develop trust. I call it building trust and faith. And we put a lot of attention and energy into this in my year-long Masterful Living program. That's why the program is a year long, because you can't do these things in just a weekend, and you can't really do them in 6-week classes or even 10-week classes, because I've got classes that are that long, but this is the whole enchilada. This is my Masterful Living program, which is so profoundly transformational for people who are looking for the kind of program that they can relax into and be given all the pieces. So that's what we do. We provide all the pieces. And I have a team to help me with it, a wonderful team. And they have been doing this work right alongside me for years. And together, we give you those tried and true methods that actually work for people of all walks of life, all creeds, all levels of ability, all spiritual knowledge. None of that stuff matters. It all falls away when it comes down to having an effective spiritual practice that you can use that works for you with your life, your lifestyle. Building trust and faith that you can really rely upon when the going gets tough, because hey, sometimes the going gets really tough. And being able to rely on spirit and feel connected with spirit in those times when things are really tough, there's nothing more valuable than that. Nothing. And of course, deepening the love connection in all your relationships, even your coworkers and the neighbors down the street, so that everyone in your life feels that you are a real person who walks the talk and lives the love. They can count on you. Then they're going to be more real with you. They're going to be more open with you, more intimate with you. It just naturally follows. So many people are reluctant to trust. It's understandable. People have a real fear about trusting spirit. That's why I want to get in there and get those blocks to that trust and faith out of there so you can feel comfortable trusting spirit. You know, the Bible says when faith with faith all things are possible, but it's not just a thing in the Bible. It's a fact of life. It's a fact of life. My faith used to be in my opinions, in my judgments, in my perceptions, and what I could do. And now my faith is in spirit. And my life has been transformed by that. And that's why people in my Masterful Living program who thought for sure that they were going to be ending the year in divorce and were terrified that would be the case, if they're willing to do the work and use the methods, they can see profound transformation. I've seen people have the divorce papers and decide that day when they sat down to sign them, nope, let's give it another try. And then a couple years later, they're renewing their vows. I've seen folks who had desperate issues with their health transform them. Everybody has their own unique results because we all have our own unique experience of the same different kinds of patterns in our minds. But I'm telling you, these miraculous results are normal in our Masterful Living community. I think one of the things that's most wonderful is when I can help somebody who thought they'd never find love again, or they never thought they'd be able to lose the weight and keep it off, or they never thought that they would be healthy or have their vitality back or have a good relationship with their mother or their father or their children or their spouse or their neighbors or coworkers or any of those people in their lives. They go from having special relationships, unhappy, unhealthy relationships, to actual holy relationships where there's tremendous growth and love and a sense of connectedness and comfort. That's that's everything to me. Getting choked up here. And that's I really am. That's what makes my work so beautiful, is that it's so tempting to quit. It's so tempting to say, I can't do it. It won't work for me. I can't even try. I can't put myself through that again. I can't be disappointed again. I know what that feels like. I felt that way for a long time. It's very, very tempting. There's always the temptation to give up, to turn back, to take a break, and to believe this stuff works for other people, but not for me because I am especially bad, wrong, deficient. Ugh. There's temptations of all kinds, always. So let us have a method that builds our strength so that we can see the temptation and go, I see you, but I am not giving in to you. You are not the boss of me. You are not the decider of my life. I am. And even I am that I am is the decider. In Masterful Living, we have methods to use when the temptation comes, and those methods work. And then you're stronger than ever because you know you're solid. You've got something to lean back on. You have a connection with spirit. You have prayer partners. You have a spiritual posse. You have people who care about you. It's powerful. It's powerful. It makes all the difference in the world. So, okay, right now, think about it. Are you really accomplishing your goals and the things that are most important to you? Are you accomplishing those things? Are they happening for you? Just be honest. Because I think it's so disheartening when we have these goals in our life and we can't seem to manifest them. They're always just out of reach. We're never quite good enough. Nothing is quite aligned. And it's so frustrating. Another thing that's so frustrating is when our relationships, we just can't seem to make them happen. So ask yourself, are your relationships with your loved ones, with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers, are they getting stronger, more supportive, and more intimate with every passing year? Like, do you feel you have that? Because if you don't, you could. You could. It's about the methods. I find that most people don't feel they really have the mental and emotional bandwidth to live the love. They go up and down and back and forth. And I remember how that feels. I really do. It was so frustrating to me to feel like I couldn't be loving for 5 minutes at a time, that some unloving thought would come in, some disparaging thought. And I remember so many times waking up in the morning and going, oh, not this place again. And having a dread about my day and feeling like, oh, when can I get out of here? I remember having all of those feelings. And so when that is the state of things, of course, you're going to self medicate with television, with food, with sex, with whatever you can find to take yourself out of that kind of experience. But what I'm trying to really make clear here is when you have an effective spiritual practice, you can get some action and some traction. And then you get inspired to see, whoa, geez, that was miraculous. What else could I do? And you can get to the place where I pretty much reside now, where most of the time I'm at peace no matter what's going on. The stock market, the whatever's going on, the even the major challenges of life, somebody's in the hospital, somebody's passed away, I can still be at peace. I can move through my experience without being blindsided, and that means a lot to me. In my next video, I'll share a simple tool that you can use to quickly move out of that kind of temptation to quit, to spiral down, to self medicate. And this is literally the very tool that got me out of the most difficult time in my life and to much higher ground. And I've been using it and teaching it for years, and it really works. So stay tuned, because what I'm about to share with you in the next video is something that you can use to change your life. And I really appreciate your watching this video and tuning into this series, because what I'm sharing here is what I've used to change my life and to help so many folks around the world who really believed that they just couldn't do it and found out, oh, I can do it. There are methods that really work and that make life so much more enjoyable. And most importantly, they allow us to stop spinning in circles and start living a life of real purpose so that we feel really good about ourselves, no matter where we are in our lives, what stage we're in. Spirit has a purpose for us and a plan. And that plan is for us to be an inspiration to ourselves and to others. And you know what? One thing I've learned is that no matter who we are, everybody is watching the choices that we make. And they're watching to see whether or not our choices bring happy results or unhappy results. And so we can be that thought leader. No matter what our life is, we can live in a way that we're inspiring others just by how we do our life. And that's a beautiful thing, because this is our time to rise and shine. This is our time as spiritual students, and there's not a moment to waste. We're being activated. Now is the time that we were born for, to really do this work of walking the talk and living the love and living an inspired and healed life, so that we can assist everyone around us in rising up just by being there to love and support them without attachments and with true compassion. And when you start transforming your mind, then all the shifts start to happen in your whole life, and most especially in your heart. And that's what brings the extraordinary results that I'm talking about. So please make a commitment to watch my next video. And I thank you. Mwah.